I stood at the back of the funeral home chapel and watched my children negotiate the sale of my house while their mother's body lay 20 feet away in a polished casket. The appraisal came back at $950, my son Derek said into his phone, not bothering to lower his voice. Yeah, I know. Market's soft, but location's premium. We'll take $875 if they close in 30 days. My daughter Jennifer sat in the front row, her laptop open on her knees, typing rapidly. Every few seconds she'd glance at the casket, then back to her screen. Her husband Craig stood beside her, one hand on her shoulder, the other scrolling through his own phone. The viewing had started 15 minutes ago. Maybe 30 people had filtered through, mostly Ellen's co-workers from the compliance firm where she'd worked for 23 years. They'd offered condolences, hugged me, signed the guest book. Then they'd left, uncomfortable with the atmosphere. The children hadn't even pretended to grieve in front of them. Derek ended his call and walked over to Jennifer. His wife Vanessa followed, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. They formed a tight circle, backs to me, voices low but not low enough. The estate attorney says we can't touch the investment accounts until probate clears, Vanessa said. But the house isn't in the trust. It's joint tenancy, which means it passed directly to him. She said him, like I was a stranger. So we need his signature, Craig said. He'll sign, Jennifer said. He's got no use for a 4-bedroom house, and he can't afford the property taxes on his pension. What about the commercial properties? Derek asked. 30 days is fine, Craig said. Gives us time to line up buyers. I've got 3 groups interested in the strip mall alone. I walked closer, not directly toward them, just drifting in their general direction, hands in my pockets. They didn't notice. I was background furniture. The old man who'd spent 35 years working facilities maintenance and infrastructure consulting for schools and hospitals. The guy who fixed boilers and negotiated janitorial contracts. Not worth noticing. What's the total estate value? Vanessa asked. Jennifer tapped her keyboard. Liquid assets, about $2.1 million. Real estate, another 4.3. Retirement accounts are his, we can't touch those. Life insurance is $500,000, split between the 4 of us. $6.9 million, Craig said. Not bad. Minus estate taxes, Derek said. Still looking at about $6 million net, Jennifer said. Split 4 ways, that's 1.5 each. Actually, Vanessa said, shouldn't it be split 5 ways? He's still alive. They all laughed. Quiet laughs, respectful of the setting, but genuine. He'll sign everything over, Jennifer said. He won't even read it. You know how he is. Mom handled all the finances. That part was true. Ellen had managed every dollar we'd ever earned. She'd insisted on it from the beginning. I'd been happy to let her. Numbers made my head hurt. I dealt with blueprints and building codes and union contracts. She dealt with investments and tax strategies and trusts. I stopped walking. I was maybe 10 feet behind them now, close enough to hear everything clearly. When do we approach him? Derek asked. Tonight, Jennifer said. After the service, we'll frame it as helping him. Too much responsibility, too many decisions, he's grieving. We'll offer to handle everything. And if he asks questions? Vanessa said. He won't, Craig said. Trust me. I've been watching him for 6 years. The man doesn't have an aggressive bone in his body. Ellen made every decision. Now she's gone. He's lost. More truth. I'd never been a fighter. Never pushed back when Derek wanted to borrow money for his first real estate deal. Never argued when Jennifer needed $40,000 for her brand consulting startup. Never complained when they forgot birthdays or canceled visits or went months without calling. Ellen used to say I was too soft, too trusting. She'd say it with affection usually, but sometimes with frustration, like she was worried about what would happen when she wasn't around to protect me. The funeral director entered from the side door, a thin man in his 50s, professionally somber. He caught my eye and gave a small nod. Time to begin. The children noticed him. They closed their laptops and phones, straightened their clothes, arranged their faces into appropriate expressions. Jennifer even managed to produce a few tears. We took our seats. The service was standard. A minister who'd never met Ellen read from prepared notes Jennifer had emailed him. He talked about her dedication to her work, her love for her family, her strength of character. All true, but sanitized. He didn't mention how she'd spent the last 6 months of her life preparing for this exact moment. I knew, because I'd been there. In the hospital room, then in the hospice facility, then finally at home during those last 2 weeks. She'd been clear-minded until almost the end. The cancer had taken her body, but left her brain sharp and functioning. She'd spent hours on her laptop, even when the pain medication made her hands shake. She'd had phone calls with attorneys, accountants, financial advisors. She'd asked me to witness documents, to sign where she indicated, to notarize certain papers at the bank. I'd done it all without asking why. That was our arrangement. She handled the complex things. I trusted her. But there'd been moments, brief and unsettling, when she'd looked at me with something like pity. "You're going to be angry with me," she'd said once, 3 days before she died. "But you'll understand eventually. I hope you'll understand." I hadn't known what she meant. The minister finished. People approached the casket for final goodbyes. I stayed seated. I'd said my goodbye privately, earlier, before anyone else arrived. I'd held her cold hand and told her I loved her and thanked her for 37 years of marriage. I hadn't cried then. I didn't cry now. I felt hollow, scooped out, like something essential had been removed, and I was just going through motions now, biological processes continuing without purpose. The children came to me as people filed out. "Dad," Jennifer said, kneeling beside my chair. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine," I said. "We need to talk," Derek said. "About practical matters. I know it's terrible timing, but there are decisions that can't wait." "What decisions?" "The house," Vanessa said. "Property taxes are due in 6 weeks. Insurance needs to be updated. There's maintenance issues." I'd fixed every maintenance issue in that house myself. The furnace was 3 years old. The roof was new last summer. The plumbing was perfect. "I can handle it," I said. "Dad, you're in shock," Jennifer said. "You're not thinking clearly. Let us help." "We've already talked to a real estate agent," Craig said. "She thinks we can get a great price if we list now, before the spring rush." "You want to sell the house?" I said. "Your house," Derek said quickly. "It's your decision, of course, but practically speaking, it makes sense. It's too big for one person. The upkeep is expensive. You could downsize to a condo, invest the difference, live comfortably." "We'd handle everything," Jennifer said. "All you'd need to do is sign the listing agreement." I looked at their faces. Concerned, caring, completely false. "What about the other properties?" I asked. They exchanged glances. "What other properties?" Derek said. "The strip mall, the office building downtown, the 2 residential rentals." More glances. Surprise, maybe, that I even knew they existed. "Those are in Mom's trust," Jennifer said carefully. "They'll transfer to the beneficiaries according to her instructions." "Who are the beneficiaries?" "We are," Derek said. "The 4 of us. You, me, Jennifer, and Mom's sister, Linda. Linda, Ellen's older sister, who I hadn't seen in 15 years, who'd cut off contact after some family dispute I'd never fully understood." "That seems fair," I said. They relaxed slightly. "So about the house," Craig said. "Should we schedule a meeting with the agent? Maybe Monday?" "Let me think about it," I said. Jennifer's smile tightened. "Dad, we don't have a lot of time. The market—" I said, "Let me think about it." The first spark of annoyance crossed her face. Just for a second. Then it was gone. "Of course," she said. "Take all the time you need." They left to speak with the funeral director about tomorrow's burial service. I sat alone in the chapel with Ellen's casket. The funeral director approached after a few minutes. Sir, we'll be closing soon. Would you like a few more minutes? No, I said. I'm done here. I drove home in Ellen's car. Mine was a 12-year-old pickup truck I used for work. Hers was a 3-year-old sedan, paid off, immaculate. It still smelled like her perfume. The house was dark when I arrived. I'd left at noon. It was nearly 8 now. I turned on lights as I moved through the rooms, not because I needed them, but because the darkness felt wrong. In the kitchen, I found a casserole someone had dropped off, chicken and rice. I wasn't hungry. I put it in the refrigerator next to 3 other casseroles and a fruit basket. Ellen's office was upstairs, second door on the left. I'd barely entered it in years. It was her space. Organized, efficient, professional. 2 filing cabinets, a desk with a desktop computer, shelves lined with binders and legal pads. I sat in her chair. The leather still held the impression of her body. On the desk was a manila envelope with my name written on it in her handwriting. I'd seen her place it there a week before she died, but she'd never mentioned it and I'd never asked. I opened it. Inside were 3 items: a letter, a USB drive, and a key. The letter was 2 pages, typed, single-spaced. I read it twice. David, it began, I know they have. I know them better than they know themselves. I need you to understand something. I love you. I have always loved you. But I've also spent 37 years protecting you from your own good nature. You trust people. You see the best in everyone. It's one of the reasons I married you. It's also your greatest weakness. Our children are not good people, David. I know this is hard to read. I know you don't want to believe it. But it's true. They're selfish, greedy, and they see you as an obstacle to their inheritance. I've known this for years. I've watched them manipulate you, use you, disrespect you. I've watched you forgive them over and over, make excuses for them, give them money and time and love they never earned. I thought about cutting them out entirely, but that would have hurt you. You would have blamed yourself, tried to fix it, given them everything just to make peace. So I did something else. I built a trap. Everything you think you know about our finances is wrong. The children think they know too. They don't. I've spent the last 5 years restructuring every asset, every account, every property. I've created layers within layers, tripwires and contingencies. If they behave with kindness and respect after I'm gone, if they treat you the way children should treat a grieving father, then they'll inherit everything according to the terms they believe exist. But if they try to push you aside, manipulate you, pressure you, take advantage of your grief, and they will, David, I know they will, then everything changes. The USB drive contains documents. Read them carefully. The key opens the bottom drawer of the left filing cabinet. Inside, you'll find more documents, organized by date and purpose. You'll also find recordings, audio files from conversations I had with each of them over the past 2 years, conversations where they said things they thought I'd never reveal to you. I've given you weapons, David. Whether you use them is your choice. But understand this, if you do nothing, they will take everything. The house, the properties, the investments. They'll have you sign papers you don't understand. They'll put you in a small apartment somewhere and visit twice a year out of obligation. You'll die alone and forgotten, wondering why your children don't love you. I can't stop that if you choose to let it happen. But if you fight back, if you use what I've given you, you'll destroy them. Completely. Legally. Permanently. It won't make you happy. Revenge never does. But it will give you justice. The choice is yours. I love you. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you myself. Ellen. I set the letter down with shaking hands. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the wall. Then I inserted the USB drive into the computer and started reading. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. The files on the USB drive were organized with Ellen's usual meticulous precision. Folders within folders, each labeled by date and category. Financial documents, legal contracts, trust amendments, email chains, and a folder simply titled Evidence. I started with the financials. The strip mall I'd vaguely known about was actually 3 properties, 2 strip malls and 1 standalone commercial building. Total assessed value, $1.8 million. Ellen had purchased them over 15 years using money she'd quietly moved from our joint accounts into a separate LLC. I was listed as a member of the LLC, but had never known it existed. The 2 residential rentals were actually 7 properties scattered across 3 zip codes. Duplexes, triplexes, 1 small apartment building. Total value, $2.2 million. All purchased through another LLC, again with me listed as a member. The investment accounts the children thought contained $2.1 million actually held just over $400,000. The rest had been moved 18 months ago into a family trust with specific distribution clauses I'd never seen. Our house, the one Derek was planning to sell, wasn't in joint tenancy anymore. Ellen had transferred it into the family trust 6 months before her diagnosis. The trust documents were dated and notarized. Legal. Binding. I wasn't the owner. I was a beneficiary with lifetime residency rights. But I couldn't sell it. Couldn't mortgage it. Couldn't sign it away even if I wanted to. The children were beneficiaries too. But their inheritance was conditional. I opened the trust document. It was 47 pages of legal language that made my head hurt, but Ellen had highlighted the relevant sections and added handwritten notes in the margins. Beneficiary rights contingent on adherence to family conduct standards, one section read. Ellen had written, translation, if they're assholes, they get nothing. The conduct standards were defined in an appendix. They included demonstrating respect for surviving family members, acting in good faith during estate administration, refraining from undue pressure or manipulation regarding estate assets, maintaining honest and transparent communication. Each violation triggered specific penalties. First violation, inheritance reduced by 25%. Second violation, reduced by 50%. Third violation, complete disinheritance with assets redirected to charity. The trust appointed an independent trustee to judge violations, not a family member. A retired judge Ellen had known professionally, someone who couldn't be pressured or manipulated. I sat back in the chair. They didn't know. Derek and Jennifer and their spouses had no idea any of this existed. They thought they were navigating a simple estate. Standard probate. Predictable outcomes. They'd already violated at least 2 conduct standards at the funeral home. Discussing asset liquidation in my presence without consulting me. Pressuring me to make decisions during a grief period. If the trustee agreed those were violations, their inheritance had already been cut in half. I opened the folder marked Evidence. Audio files, dozens of them. I clicked the first one, dated 13 months ago. Ellen's voice slightly weakened but still clear. So if something happens to me, you'll make sure your father's taken care of? Jennifer's voice. Of course, Mom. We all will. He's going to be lost without me. You know how he is with finances. We'll handle everything. He won't have to worry about a thing. And you won't pressure him? Won't try to make him do anything he's not comfortable with? A pause. Then Jennifer, more carefully. We'll do what's best for him. That's not what I asked. Another pause. Longer. Mom, Dad's not capable of managing the estate. You know that. He's never been good with money. If we let him make decisions, he'll make mistakes. Costly mistakes. So you'll take control. We'll guide him, for his own protection. And if he disagrees with your guidance, he won't. Jennifer's voice had an edge now. He never does. I closed the file, opened another. Derek and Ellen, recorded 10 months ago. The house is worth at least $900,000, Derek said. Probably more. Have you thought about what happens to it? Your father lives there. Yeah, but long term. It's a lot of house for one person. Expensive to maintain. He's going to be on a fixed income. He'll have his pension and Social Security. Not enough for that house. Property taxes alone are $12,000 a year. So what are you suggesting? Sell it. Move him somewhere smaller. Invest the proceeds. He'd be more comfortable. More comfortable, or you'd be richer. Silence. That's not fair, Mom. Isn't it? I'm thinking about his future. What happens if he needs medical care, assisted living? Those places are expensive. His inheritance would cover that. If there is an inheritance, if it's not all eaten up by end-of-life costs and estate taxes, there will be plenty left, Derek. I've made sure of that. Then why not liquidate now, while you're still alive, to make good decisions? Because it's not your money yet, and if I have anything to say about it, it might never be. The recording ended abruptly. I played 6 more files, each one worse than the last. Jennifer and Derek discussing how to handle me after Ellen died. Vanessa suggesting they might need to get power of attorney just in case I became difficult. Craig researching elder care facilities for when he can't live independently anymore. I was 60 years old and in perfect health. The last file was dated 3 weeks before Ellen died. Both children, both spouses, gathered in Ellen's hospice room. I'd been there that day. Ellen had asked me to step out, get coffee, give them time alone with her. I'd thought she wanted to say goodbye privately. I've made some changes to the estate plan, Ellen's voice said, weak but determined. I want you all to understand them. What kind of changes? Derek asked. Protections. For your father. We don't need to talk about this now, Jennifer said. You should rest. Listen to me. David is going to be vulnerable after I'm gone. Emotionally vulnerable. I need to know you won't take advantage of that. We would never, Vanessa started. You already have. All of you. For years. I've watched you treat him like he's incompetent, like he's a burden. Mom, that's not true, Derek said. Don't lie to me. I know exactly what you think of your father. I've heard you say it to each other when you thought I wasn't listening. Silence on the recording. Here's what's going to happen, Ellen continued. After I die, you're going to treat David with respect. You're going to include him in decisions. You're going to value his opinion. You're going to be the children he deserves. Of course we will, Jennifer said. And if you don't, you'll lose everything. What does that mean? Craig asked. It means I've structured the estate with consequences. You want your inheritance? Earn it. Be kind, be patient, be honest. Fail at any of those things, and the money goes somewhere else. You can't do that, Derek said. I already did. 6 months ago. It's all legal, all documented, all filed with the appropriate courts. You can contest it if you want, but you'll lose. I made sure of that. This is insane, Vanessa said. This is protection. For the man I love. The man who's given you everything and gotten nothing but contempt in return. We don't, Jennifer started. Stop. I'm done listening to lies. Here's what's going to happen. You'll find out the details after I'm gone. David will have information, documents, recordings. He'll know exactly what you've said and done, and he'll have the power to decide whether you deserve anything at all. You're putting him in charge? Derek's voice was incredulous. I'm giving him options. What he does with them is up to him. But know this, if you try to manipulate him, if you try to pressure him or intimidate him or make him feel weak, you will regret it. Every asset I own has tripwires. Every account has conditions. Push too hard and it all disappears. Where would it go? Craig asked. Charity, medical research, scholarships for underprivileged kids. Anywhere but to you. The recording ended. I sat in the silent office, my hands trembling. Ellen had known. She'd known exactly who they were, and she'd built a weapon for me to use against them. The question was whether I had the stomach to use it. I pulled out the key and opened the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet. Inside were 3 thick binders, each labeled with one of the children's names and their spouses. I opened Derek's binder first. It contained printouts of every financial transaction he'd made in the last 5 years. Bank statements, credit card bills, loan applications. Ellen had somehow gotten access to all of it. The picture was clear. Derek's real estate business was failing. He had 3 properties in pre-foreclosure. His credit cards were maxed out. He owed $200,000 to private lenders at predatory interest rates. He was desperate. Jennifer's binder was similar. Her brand consulting business existed mostly on Instagram. She had 11 clients, total revenue last year of $47,000. She was living off Craig's income and credit cards. Craig's binder was the thinnest but most damning. He'd been fired from his venture capital firm 8 months ago for ethics violations. Ellen had copies of the internal investigation report. He was currently consulting, which meant unemployed. Vanessa's binder contained evidence of an affair. Photos, hotel receipts, explicit text messages with a man named Brandon who worked at her gym. Ellen had given me leverage over every one of them. My phone rang. Derek. "Hey, Dad," he said. "Just checking in. How are you doing?" "I'm fine. Listen, I wanted to apologize for earlier, at the funeral home. We shouldn't have talked business. It was inappropriate." The first smart thing he'd said all day. "It's okay," I said. "No, it's not. You're grieving. You need time. We all do." I waited. "But I do want to ask you something," he continued. "Have you talked to Mom's attorney yet?" "No. You should. Soon. There are some time-sensitive issues. Tax stuff, transfer paperwork. The longer we wait, the more complicated it gets." "What kind of time-sensitive issues?" "I don't know all the details. That's why you need to talk to the attorney. I can set up a meeting if you want. This week, maybe?" "I'll call him myself." "Sure, okay. But don't wait too long. These things have deadlines." "What things, Derek?" A pause. "Estate things, legal things. I'm not an attorney, Dad. I'm just trying to help." "I appreciate that." "Good. That's good." He sounded relieved. "So maybe we can all get together this weekend, somewhere neutral, not the house. We can talk through everything, figure out next steps." "Next steps for what?" "For your future, making sure you're taken care of." "I can take care of myself." "I know, Dad. Of course you can. But there's a lot to handle right now. Paperwork and accounts and property management. Mom did all that. Now it's on you. We just want to help lighten the load." I looked at the binders on Ellen's desk, the audio files on the computer, the trust documents spelling out exactly what would happen if they kept lying to me. "Let me think about it," I said. "Sure, yeah. Take your time. But not too much time, okay? Like I said, deadlines." He hung up. I opened my laptop and searched for the name of Ellen's attorney, found his contact information in her email, sent him a message requesting a meeting as soon as possible. He responded within 20 minutes. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., his office. I spent the rest of the night reading documents, learning the full extent of what Ellen had built, the empire she'd created in silence while I'd been fixing furnaces and negotiating maintenance contracts. By 3 a.m., I understood 2 things clearly. First, my wife had been brilliant. Ruthless, calculating, and brilliant. Second, my children were going to destroy themselves, and I was going to watch it happen. The first property management meeting was at 8 a.m., Monday, 5 days after Ellen's funeral. The woman's name was Rita Chen, and she'd been managing 2 of Ellen's commercial properties for 7 years. We met at a coffee shop near the larger strip mall. Rita was maybe 40, sharp-eyed, dressed in practical business clothes. She had a tablet with spreadsheets and reports already pulled up. "I'm very sorry about Ellen," she said. "She was one of my favorite clients. Always responsive, always fair, never unreasonable." "Thank you. I assume you'll be taking over management?" "That's the plan." "Good. The properties are in excellent condition. Occupancy rates are strong. Rent collection is over 95%. She ran them well." She walked me through the numbers, income, expenses, capital reserves, maintenance schedules. It was more complex than I'd expected, but not incomprehensible. The language was different from facilities management, but the underlying concepts were the same. Buildings need upkeep, tenants need service, systems need maintenance. "What do you need from me?" I asked. Direction, mostly. Ellen made all major decisions herself. Lease renewals, capital improvements, rent increases. I can handle day-to-day operations, but the strategic stuff needs owner input. "What's coming up that needs decisions?" She scrolled through her tablet. 3 lease renewals in the next 60 days. One tenant wants to expand into an adjacent vacant unit. The parking lot at the Madison Street property needs resurfacing, and the property taxes are due in 40 days. "How much are the taxes?" "Combined, both properties, about $38,000. I'd never written a check that large in my life. "The accounts have sufficient reserves?" I asked. "More than sufficient." Ellen maintained a 6-month operating cushion. Very conservative, but smart. We talked for another hour. She gave me access to the property management software, showed me how to review reports, explained the approval processes. "One more thing," she said as we were finishing. Ellen had me send her monthly reports on everything. Income, expenses, maintenance issues, tenant concerns. "Should I continue that with you?" "Yes." "Email okay?" "Email's fine." She paused. "I heard there might be estate complications. Is that going to affect the properties?" "Who did you hear that from?" "I got a call Friday from someone claiming to be Ellen's son. He said there were questions about property ownership and I should hold off on any major decisions until things were sorted out." "Derek." "What did you tell him?" "That I don't take instructions from anyone but the property owner. Ellen, and now you." "Good. That's the right answer. If he calls again, refer him to Roger Tennant, the estate attorney." "Will do." After Rita left, I sat in the coffee shop and thought about Derek calling property managers, trying to insert himself, trying to create confusion. My phone rang. "Craig." "David, we need to talk." "Not Dad." "David." "About what?" "About your behavior. It's becoming a problem." "My behavior?" "You're being hostile, confrontational. You're shutting out your family during a difficult time." "I'm responding to pressure." "Nobody's pressuring you. We're trying to help." "By calling my property managers? By telling them not to make decisions?" Silence. "Derek told you about that." "Rita told me. Derek tried to undermine my authority with my own property managers. He was trying to protect the assets." "From what?" "From me?" "From hasty decisions. You're not experienced in property management." "I've been managing facilities for 35 years. "That's not the same thing." "It's close enough." "David, listen to me. We're concerned about you. Genuinely concerned. You're acting erratically, making threats, alienating your own children. This isn't healthy." "What would be healthy?" "Cooperation, transparency, shared decision-making." Translation: letting you control everything. Translation: recognizing your limitations and accepting help. I hung up. 30 seconds later, Jennifer called. I didn't answer. Then Vanessa. I didn't answer. Then Derek again. I turned off the phone. At noon, I met with Frank Delgado at the strip mall. He walked me through the property, pointing out recent repairs and upcoming needs. "The roof's got another 5 years, maybe 7 if we stay on top of maintenance," he said. "HVAC systems are good. Plumbing's old but functional. The big thing is the parking lot. It's deteriorating. We should resurface before next winter." "How much?" "I got quotes last year, about $45,000 for the whole lot." "Ellen approved that?" "She said to wait until spring. She wanted to coordinate it with some landscaping updates." We stood in the parking lot, watching tenants come and go. "You're doing this yourself now?" Frank asked. "Managing the properties?" "Yes." "Kids not involved?" "No." He nodded slowly. "Ellen mentioned once that might happen. She said if anything happened to her, you might take over operations. I told her you seemed like the type who could handle it." "She talked to you about that?" "Last year sometime. We were walking the property and she got philosophical. Talked about legacy and responsibility. Said her kids were smart but not wise. Said you were both. I'm not sure I'm either. You're here, aren't you? Learning the business, taking responsibility. That's wisdom. We finished the walkthrough and I drove to Roger's office. He was waiting with updated documentation. I've received 3 calls from Derek, 2 from Jennifer, and 1 from Craig in the past 72 hours, he said, all demanding immediate access to trust documents and asset valuations. Are you giving it to them? No. The trust specifies a 30-day waiting period before beneficiaries receive detailed financial information. We're at day 6. Why the waiting period? Ellen wanted time for the reality to sink in. She thought if they had immediate access to numbers, they'd start making plans and assumptions. This way, they have to wait. Uncertainty breeds anxiety. That's cruel. That's strategic. Anxious people make mistakes. Mistakes trigger penalties. He slid a document across his desk. Speaking of which, I'm prepared to rule on the first conduct violation. What violation? Derek's contact with Rita Chen, your property manager. He attempted to interfere with property operations and undermine your authority. That's a clear violation of the trust's respect and cooperation standards. What's the penalty? 25% reduction in his inheritance share. From whatever he was set to receive, he now gets 3/4 of that. You're sure? The trust language is explicit. Any attempt to interfere with property management or business operations constitutes undue pressure. First offense, 25% penalty. I thought about Derek, about his failed businesses and mounting debts, about how much he needed the money. Do it, I said. Roger made a note on his legal pad. I'll prepare the formal finding and notify Derek by letter. He'll have an opportunity to contest, but the trust makes my decisions final. Will he know I requested the review? The trust allows beneficiaries to file complaints, but it doesn't require me to disclose who filed. I can simply state that conduct violations were observed and evaluated. Good. David, Roger said carefully, once this penalty is imposed, the relationship will escalate. Derek will be angry. He'll feel attacked. This could get worse before it gets better. It's already worse. It could get physical. Ellen thought it might. She prepared contingencies for that too. But I need to know you're ready, that you understand what you're triggering. I thought about the recordings, about Derek discussing memory care facilities, about Jennifer laughing at the idea of me managing my own life. I'm ready. That evening, I was in Ellen's office reviewing tenant lease agreements when I heard glass breaking downstairs. I froze, another crash, then voices. I moved quietly to the hallway and listened. He's got to be here, Derek's voice. The truck's in the driveway. Maybe he's asleep, Craig. At 8 o'clock? I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, but before I could hit send, Derek called up the stairs. Dad, we know you're here. We just want to talk. I went to the top of the stairs. They were in the foyer. Derek, Craig, and another man I didn't recognize. Bigger than both of them, thick-necked, wearing a black jacket. Who's that? I asked, pointing at the stranger. A friend, Derek said. We thought we might need help convincing you to be reasonable. You broke into my house. The window was already broken. Storm damage, probably. Get out. Not until we talk. I'm calling the police. The big man moved toward the stairs. I wouldn't do that, Craig said. Things could get complicated. Are you threatening me? We're trying to have a conversation, Derek said. But you won't listen, so we're making you listen. I backed away from the stairs. The trust has penalties for this, I said. Physical intimidation. Roger will disinherit all of you. Roger's not here. Nobody's here. Just us. They started up the stairs. I went back to Ellen's office and locked the door. It was solid wood with a good deadbolt. It would hold for a while. Derek tried the handle. Dad, open the door. Leave. We need to talk about the letter Roger sent me. About the penalty. You can't do this. I didn't do it. Roger did. Because you complained. You filed a formal complaint over a phone call. Over me trying to protect the family assets. You were trying to undermine me. I was trying to prevent mistakes. Craig's voice. David, this is getting ridiculous. You're acting paranoid. Let us in and we'll discuss this like adults. Adults don't break into houses. The big man spoke for the first time. Deep voice, accent I couldn't place. We can go through this door pretty easy. Better you open it. Better you leave before the police arrive. You didn't call the police, Derek said. If you had, we'd hear sirens by now. He was right. I'd never hit send. Something heavy slammed into the door. Once, twice. The frame splintered slightly. I looked around the office. No other exit. One window overlooking the backyard, 25 feet above the ground. The door shuttered again. I grabbed Ellen's laptop and the USB drive from her desk, shoved them in a backpack I found in the closet, added the binders with the children's information. Another slam. The deadbolt was holding, but the frame was giving way. I opened the window and looked down. There was a porch roof below, maybe 8 feet down. Steep pitch, architectural shingles. I'd repaired that roof 2 years ago. I knew it was solid. The door cracked. I climbed out the window, hung from the sill, and dropped onto the roof. The shingles held. I slid down to the edge, hung from the gutter, and dropped into the backyard. I heard shouting from the house, the door breaking completely. I ran. I drove to a motel 6 miles from my house, the kind of place that takes cash and doesn't ask questions. Checked in under a fake name, paid for 3 nights, locked myself in a room that smelled like cigarettes and cleaning chemicals. At 10 p.m., I called Roger from the motel phone. They broke into my house, I said. Are you safe? For now, I'm at a motel. Did you call the police? No. Why not? Because Ellen's plan wasn't police, it was penalties. If I involve law enforcement, it becomes public record. It gets messy. David, this is assault. Breaking and entering. This is criminal. And if I file a report, they get arrested, they hire attorneys, they tie up the estate in litigation for years. Ellen didn't want that. Ellen didn't want you hurt. I'm not hurt. I'm angry. Silence on the line. What do you want me to do? Roger asked. Apply the penalties, physical intimidation, all 3 of them. The trust specifies automatic disinheritance for physical violence or credible threats. Then disinherit them. David, that's final. There's no appeals process. If I make that ruling, they're out completely. Everything goes to charity. Do they know that? They've been sent copies of the trust document. Whether they've read it is another question. Send them a letter, formal notice. Explain that tonight's actions constitute grounds for complete disinheritance. Give them 72 hours to respond. That's generous. That's strategic. I want to see if they apologize, if they show any remorse at all. And if they don't, then you make it official. Roger was quiet for a long moment. This is going to destroy them, he said. They destroyed themselves. I hung up and sat on the motel bed with Ellen's laptop, opened the folder marked Phase 3. Inside were more detailed instructions for the commercial properties. Ellen had outlined a complete management structure, how to hire staff, how to evaluate tenants, how to handle maintenance emergencies. She'd even included market analysis for potential property acquisitions. If you're reading this, she'd written, you've chosen to fight. Good. These properties can give you independence, income, purpose. You don't need the children. You don't need anyone's permission to build a life. There was a separate file titled Social Consequences. Inside were instructions for how to leak information about the children's behavior to the extended family and mutual friends. Nothing illegal, just truthful revelations presented in context. Email templates, social media posts, letters to family members explaining why certain people were being cut off. Isolation hurts worse than poverty, Ellen had written. If they lose their social standing along with their money, they'll understand what they've lost. I couldn't do that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. but I saved the folder in case. At midnight, Derek called my cell phone. I let it ring. He called 6 more times, then left a voicemail. "Dad, I'm sorry. Things got out of hand. We shouldn't have come to the house like that, but you have to understand we're desperate. That penalty Roger imposed, it's destroying us. I can't afford to lose 25% of the inheritance. I'll lose my properties, everything I've built." A pause, then quieter. "Please call me back. Let's fix this. Whatever you need, whatever you want, we can work it out. Just please, don't let Roger take everything." I deleted the message. The next morning, I met with a locksmith at the house. Changed all the locks, installed a security system with cameras covering every entrance. The technician said it would be monitored 24 hours, police dispatch automatic if anyone tried to break in again. The broken window in the foyer was obvious. The door to Ellen's office was destroyed, hanging from one hinge. I called a contractor I'd worked with on school projects. He came out, assessed the damage, gave me a quote for repairs, said he could start tomorrow. "What happened?" he asked. "Break-in?" "Family dispute." "Ah." He nodded like he understood. Those can be worse than stranger crime. While he measured the door frame, I went through the house checking for what was missing or disturbed. They'd gone through the kitchen drawers, the living room desk. Ellen's filing cabinets were all pulled open, documents scattered on the floor. But they hadn't found anything useful. I'd taken the important files with me. Everything that mattered was either with Roger or in my motel room. I spent 3 hours reorganizing what they'd disrupted, putting files back in order, straightening furniture, erasing the evidence of their violence. By afternoon, the house looked normal again. No sign of what had happened except the broken window and splintered door, both scheduled for repair. My phone rang. Jennifer. "Dad, Derek told me what happened last night. I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I didn't know they were planning that." "But you knew Derek was angry." "Yes, but I thought he was just going to talk to you. I didn't know he'd bring people and break in." "Craig was there too." "I know, he told me. He feels terrible." "Does he?" "Yes, they both do. It was stupid and wrong and they want to apologize." "I don't want apologies. I want them to leave me alone." "Dad, please. Can we meet? Just you and me again? No husbands, no Derek. I swear I'll come alone." "Where?" "Anywhere you want. Public place, your choice." I thought about it. "The coffee shop on Madison tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. "I'll be there, thank you." She hung up. I stared at the phone, wondering if I was making a mistake. That evening, Roger called. I sent the formal notice. All 3 of them, Derek, Craig, and the unidentified third party, are being warned that their actions constitute grounds for disinheritance. They have until Friday at 5 p.m. to provide written response. What happens Friday? I make my ruling. If they've shown genuine remorse and demonstrated change, I might reduce the penalty to something less than total disinheritance. If they've doubled down or shown no contrition, they're out completely. What counts as genuine remorse? Apology, acknowledgement of wrongdoing, commitment to changed behavior, and most importantly, actions that demonstrate that commitment. Like what actions? Leaving you alone, stopping all pressure, respecting your autonomy, treating you like a human being instead of an obstacle. That seems like a low bar. It is, which makes it even more damning if they can't clear it. After Roger hung up, I sat in the silent house and thought about Ellen, about how she'd spent her final months planning this, building traps, preparing weapons. She'd been so sure they would fail, so certain they couldn't be decent even for 90 days. Part of me had hoped she was wrong, but she wasn't. The next morning, I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early, ordered black coffee and sat by the window where I could see Jennifer arrive. She showed up at 7:55, alone as promised. She looked tired, hair not quite as perfect as usual, makeup covering dark circles but not entirely successfully. She ordered tea and sat across from me. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. You said you wanted to talk. I want to apologize. Really apologize, not the bullshit half apologies we've been giving you. Okay. What Derek and Craig did was unforgivable. Breaking into your house, bringing that guy, scaring you like that. It's the worst thing they could have done. Yes. I had no idea they were planning it. If I'd known, I would have stopped them. Would you have? She met my eyes. I want to say yes, but honestly, I don't know. I've been so focused on the money, on solving our financial problems, that I might not have stopped them. I might have let it happen thinking it would work. That's how messed up I've become. That was the first honest thing she'd said since Ellen died. Craig's freaking out, she continued. Roger's letter made it clear they could lose everything. Derek, too. They're panicking. Good. Dad, if they lose their inheritance, I lose mine too. The trust distributes equally to all beneficiaries. If half the beneficiaries are disinherited, there's not enough left to matter. There's charity. Right. Cancer research gets millions while your children get nothing. My children chose that outcome. Did we? Or did Mom set us up to fail? She gave you clear instructions. Be respectful, be patient, be honest. You couldn't do it for even a week. Jennifer looked down at her tea. What do you want from us? I want you to be the children I thought I had, the ones who would care about me as a person, not as a source of money. We do care about you. Prove it. How? Stop asking for money. Stop pressuring me about the estate. Stop treating me like I'm incompetent. Just be normal. For how long? For the rest of the 90 days. If you can do that, you'll get your inheritance according to the original terms, minus whatever penalties have already been applied. And if we can't? Then Ellen was right about you. She was quiet for a long time. I'll talk to Derek and Craig, she said finally. I'll make them understand. No more pressure, no more scheming. We'll wait. Can you control them? I don't know. Derek's desperate. His financial situation is worse than you realize. He's not just in pre-foreclosure, he's being sued by contractors. He's got liens on his properties. If he doesn't get inheritance money within 60 days, he'll lose everything. That's not my problem. It is if he does something stupid that gets him disinherited and takes me down with him. She had a point. Tell him what I told you, 90 days. If he can't wait 90 days, he deserves to lose. And the penalty Roger already imposed? That stands. He earned it. 25% of his share. That's the first violation penalty. If he triggers another one, it goes to 50%. How many violations before complete disinheritance? Physical violence. Legal action against the trust. Fraud. Any of those are immediate and permanent. She absorbed that. I'll make sure he understands. You do that. She stood to leave, then paused. Did you love her? What? Mom, did you love her? Or did you just go along with everything because it was easier? I loved her, every day of 37 years. Then why did she think we were so terrible? Because she knew you better than I did. Jennifer left without another word. I sat in the coffee shop for another hour thinking about that question. Had Ellen been right? Were the children fundamentally broken, or had circumstances just pushed them to desperate choices? Did it matter? By Friday afternoon, all 3 letters had arrived at Roger's office. Derek's was defensive, 2 pages explaining how he was trying to protect the family assets, how his intentions were good, how the break-in was a mistake born of frustration, not malice. Craig's was shorter, direct apology, acknowledgement that he'd crossed a line, commitment to step back. The third man, whose name turned out to be Marcus Brennan, a business associate of Derek's, had submitted nothing. Based on these responses, Roger said, I'm making the following rulings. He pulled out a formal document. Derek, conduct violation penalty increased from 25 to 35% due to insufficient contrition and continued justification of bad behavior. Craig, conduct violation penalty, set at 25% for participation in the break-in, but no increase due to adequate apology. Marcus Brennan, complete disinheritance. That's been revoked. All three are formally warned that any further violations will result in escalated penalties up to and including complete disinheritance. He signed the document and sealed it. "This is legally binding," he said, effective immediately. "How much are they losing total?" He pulled out a calculator and ran numbers. Assuming the estate is worth approximately $6 million after taxes and expenses, Derek was in line for about $1.5 million. At 35% penalty, he's now looking at $975,000. Jennifer? She hasn't violated yet, still at full share. And Craig? His share is dependent on Jennifer's. They're married, so effectively they split her inheritance. Her full share minus his 25% penalty puts them around $1.1 million combined. Still substantial. Enough to solve their financial problems if they manage it wisely. Which they won't. Probably not. I left Roger's office and drove to the strip mall. Frank was there replacing light fixtures in the parking lot. "How's it going?" I asked. "Good. Getting ready for the longer days. These LEDs should last 10 years. We stood together watching him work. "You getting the hang of the property business?" he asked. "Learning. It's not as different from facilities work as I thought. It's all about maintenance and people. Keep the buildings running, keep the tenants happy. Same principle." Ellen made it look easy. "She had experience. You'll get there." "Did she ever talk to you about her family?" Frank climbed down from the ladder and wiped his hands. "A little. She mentioned her kids once or twice, said they were smart but unfocused, said she worried about what would happen after she was gone." "Did she think I could handle this?" "She knew you could. She told me that specifically. Said you were tougher than people realized, said you just needed the right motivation." Motivation. Her words, "David's too kind for his own good, but if you push him far enough, he'll surprise you." She'd known. She'd known exactly how far they'd push, and she'd known I'd eventually push back. Week 2 after the funeral. The pressure eased slightly. Derek and Craig stopped calling. Jennifer texted once a day, simple messages. "How are you?" or "Thinking of you." Nothing about money or the estate. I spent the time learning property management, met with tenants, reviewed leases, approved maintenance requests. Rita sent daily reports. Frank handled the physical work. I made decisions. It was straightforward. More straightforward than I'd expected. On day 12, I received a formal letter from a law firm representing Derek. Not hostile, just informational. They were requesting copies of all trust documents and a detailed accounting of estate assets. I forwarded it to Roger. "This is exactly what Ellen predicted," he said when I called. Day 12. She estimated they'd last 10 to 14 days before trying legal pressure. Is this a violation? Technically, no. Beneficiaries have the right to request information, but the timing and tone suggest adversarial intent. I'll respond formally, provide the minimum information required by law, and document it for future reference. What happens if they escalate? If they file suit against the trust, that's immediate disinheritance. No appeals. Will they? Depends on how desperate they are. I hung up and checked my email. Rita had sent the monthly property reports. Rent collection was at 97%. 2 small maintenance issues, both resolved. One tenant requesting early lease renewal with a modest rent increase. I approved everything. Then I drove to the second strip mall, the one I hadn't visited yet. It was smaller, only 5 units, anchored by a pharmacy. Frank was there inspecting the roof. "Got some wear on the flashing," he said. "Nothing urgent, but we should replace it next summer." "How much?" "Maybe 10,000. I'll get quotes." We walked the property together. He showed me the electrical panels, the HVAC access points, the drainage systems. It was familiar territory, different context, same concepts. "You're doing good," Frank said. "Ellen would be proud." She planned all this. She gave you the tools. You're using them right. That evening, I got a call from Ellen's sister, Linda, the one I hadn't seen in 15 years. "David," she said, "I heard about Ellen. I'm so sorry I didn't make it to the funeral. I was out of the country." "It's okay." "No, it's not. We should have reconciled before she died. I regret that every day." "What happened between you two?" "Money. What else? She lent me a substantial amount to start a business. I couldn't pay it back as quickly as she wanted. We fought, said terrible things, never spoke again." "Did you eventually pay her back?" "Every penny. Took me 8 years, but I did it. I tried to reach out after that, but she never responded." I didn't know what to say. "Roger Tennant called me," Linda continued. "Said I'm listed as a beneficiary in the trust. I wanted you to know I don't want anything. Ellen and I weren't speaking. I don't deserve her money." "What did Roger say?" "That it's not up to me. The trust terms are clear. I get an equal share with you and the kids. 4 beneficiaries. If the kids were disinherited, Linda and I would split everything." "How much do you know about Derek and Jennifer?" I asked. "Not much. Ellen stopped talking about them years ago." "Why?" I told her everything. The funeral, the recordings, the break-in, the penalties. She was quiet for a long time. "Christ," she finally said. "They're worse than I was. Ellen thought so. And she's punishing them. She's giving them a chance to be better. They're choosing not to take it." "What about you? What do you want?" "I want them to prove her wrong. I want them to show me they're capable of basic decency. But you don't think they will." "No. So you're going to let her destroy them." "I'm going to let them destroy themselves." Linda sighed. "Ellen was always ruthless. I loved her, but she was cold when she wanted to be, calculating. I used to think it was a strength. Now I'm not sure. She was protecting me. She was controlling you. Both are true." I hadn't thought of it that way. "If the kids get disinherited," Linda said, "and you and I split everything, I'm giving you my share. I don't need it. I've done well on my own. Ellen's money should go to someone she actually loved." "That's generous. That's guilt. I wasted 15 years being angry at my sister. I won't waste whatever time I have left being a vulture over her corpse." She hung up. I sat in Ellen's office, my office now, and thought about control versus protection, about whether there was a difference. Ellen had controlled everything, but she'd done it to protect me, to ensure I'd be taken care of after she was gone. Was that love or manipulation? Could it be both? Week 3 started quietly. No calls from the children, no letters from attorneys. Roger's formal response to Derek's lawyer had apparently been sufficient. I spent Monday reviewing financials, Tuesday meeting with an accountant about tax strategies, Wednesday inspecting properties with Frank. Thursday afternoon, Vanessa showed up at the strip mall. I was in the parking lot with Frank, examining the pavement deterioration, when I saw her car pull in. She got out slowly, looking around like she wasn't sure she should be there. "David," she said. "Can we talk?" "About what?" "About Derek, about everything." Frank glanced at me. I nodded and he walked away, giving us space. Vanessa looked different, thinner, tired, no makeup, hair pulled back simply. "Derek doesn't know I'm here," she said. "If he finds out, he'll be furious." "Then why come?" "Because someone needs to tell you the truth. And it won't be him." "What truth?" "Derek's going to lose everything. The penalties Roger imposed, they've destroyed him financially. He's in default on 3 properties. The lenders are foreclosing. He's got 30 days before he loses them all." "That's unfortunate. It's catastrophic. Those properties represent his entire business, his entire identity. Without them, he's nothing." "Then he should have thought about that before he broke into my house." "He's not thinking clearly. He's desperate and panicked and making terrible decisions." "That's not my problem." She looked at me directly. "He's planning something. I don't know what. But he's meeting with people. making calls late at night, being secretive. He thinks he can force your hand somehow, make you sign over property or assets. He can't. The trust is ironclad. I know. Roger explained that. But Derek thinks he's smarter than the system. He always does. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want him to do something that gets him completely disinherited, or arrested, or worse. You could leave him. I'm going to. I've already filed for separation. He doesn't know yet. I'm telling him this weekend. She looked away. The affair Ellen documented, Brandon from the gym, that ended months ago. I stopped it because I realized I was looking for an exit from my marriage and taking the coward's way out. Does Derek know about it? Not yet, but he will. When the divorce papers are filed, it'll all come out. Ellen's evidence will be part of it. I'm sorry. Don't be. I made choices. I'm living with them. I just don't want Derek dragging me down further. She turned to leave, then stopped. Ellen was right about him. About both kids. They're selfish and entitled, and they've never had to face real consequences. This is going to break them. Or make them better. You don't really believe that. No, I don't. After she left, I called Roger and told him what she'd said. I'll increase monitoring, he said. If Derek attempts any kind of fraud or coercion, we'll document it and move to immediate disinheritance. What if he tries something physical again? Then we involve the police. Ellen's plan only works if you're safe, David. If he escalates to violence, all bets are off. That night I stayed at the motel again. Didn't feel safe at the house. Around 2 a.m., my phone rang. Number I didn't recognize. Mr. Howard, this is Alert Secure Monitoring. Your home security system has been triggered. Multiple entry points. Police have been dispatched. I'm not home. What's happening? Cameras show 3 individuals forcing entry through the rear door. They're inside now. Are they stealing anything? Appears they're searching, going through rooms. How long until police arrive? Estimated 4 minutes. I grabbed my laptop and opened the security app. Live feeds from 6 cameras. 3 men in my house, Derek, Craig, and Marcus Brennan again, going through drawers, cabinets, closets, looking for something. They went to Ellen's office, started going through the filing cabinets, pulling out documents, police sirens in the distance on the audio feed. The 3 men heard them too. They grabbed a handful of files and ran. 90 seconds later, police arrived, found the forced entry, searched the house. Nobody there. I stayed on the phone with the monitoring company, watching it all on the camera feeds. The police secured the property and left a notice on the door for me to contact them. I drove home at dawn, met with the officers who responded, gave them the security footage, filed a formal report. Derek, Craig, and Marcus clearly visible on camera, breaking and entering. Theft of documents. The officer took my statement and said detectives would follow up. You know these men? He asked. 2 of them are my son and son-in-law. He didn't react, just wrote it down. You want to press charges? Yes. All 3 of them? Yes. By noon, warrants had been issued. Derek was arrested at his office, Craig at his gym, Marcus at his apartment. All 3 were charged with burglary, criminal trespass, and theft. They made bail by evening, but the damage was done. I called Roger. They triggered the final clause, he said. Criminal activity related to estate assets. That's automatic and complete disinheritance. No appeals. All 3? Derek and Craig for sure. Marcus was already out. But yes, this ends it. What about Jennifer? She wasn't involved. Her share is intact. And Linda? Same. He paused. This is what Ellen wanted, what she expected. But I need to ask, are you certain about pressing charges? Once this goes to court, it's public record. Your family's dysfunction becomes entertainment for strangers. I don't care. The children will be destroyed, financially, socially, legally. They destroyed themselves. Yes, they did. He hung up. I sat in my damaged house, surrounded by evidence of my children's desperation, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just cold certainty that Ellen had been right about everything,